Well, good morning. Trucker Todd here, and time for another video. I hope you guys had a great weekend, and today I'm going to answer some questions that I get asked quite a bit. I'm actually kind of shocked I get asked this question, but as I was preparing to do this video, I realized the complexities of it and why this could be a very confusing topic for a lot of drivers, especially new drivers. And so I'm going to try to give you a basic kind of rudimentary understanding, and then I guess if we have some specific questions, you guys can email them to me and I'll try to get back to you with a little more in-depth information. If I don't know, I'll ask around or try to get you to a website that can help you. So of course today we're talking about company fuel discounts, and we're talking about fuel surcharges. Hang on, if you don't know what that is, it's no big deal. I'm going to explain it to you. Let's not waste any time. Here we go. Hey, Trucker Todd here, and today's video is sponsored by the fine folks at Mudflap. If you're not familiar with the Mudflap app, they offer you ways to save money on fuel. And if you click the link in my description below, you'll receive $10 off the first time you use their app to fill up if you do it within the first 5 days. So why not give them a shot? You could save 20, 30, even 50 cents or more per gallon on diesel. And you don't have to be a truck driver to use it. If you use diesel, you can use this app. So look down in the description below for the link to receive that savings for being a viewer of this channel. All right, let's jump right into the regularly scheduled video.
And this is why I do this, why I'm out here, why I keep that hammer down. Flying by these road signs with home on my mind, with these wheels turning round. For my family and for my kids, for this life I wanna live. And this is why I do this.
Okay, we're back. I want to remind everybody, give me a thumbs up. Share this video on your social media platforms. In the description below is a lot of great information, including my email, if you want to email me some questions, my Instagram, and my Facebook. Feel free to join me on those platforms. Sometimes we'll post content there that does not make it to the YouTube channel. Also, you guys know that I'm at Dart Transit. I love it here. If you're wanting more information about coming to work here, email me. I'll get you hooked up with a good recruiter that'll help you out. If you're already preparing to contact them, please be sure and give them my driver number, 58180. That really helps me out. I don't make anything off these YouTube videos, and so that puts a little extra income in there for me, and it also allows me to help you out if you have any problems during the recruiting process. All right, now let's get into the topic. First of all, let's talk about company fuel discounts. What are they? How do you get them? How does it show up on your settlements? Things like that. First of all, let me run some numbers by you. Right here you'll see if you are getting 6 miles a gallon and you're running 2,750 miles a week, you're burning approximately 458 gallons. Now I rounded up in these cases, but this will give you a general idea of what you spend. If you are getting 7 miles a gallon, you're spending approximately 393 gallons a week in fuel. And of course, if you're getting 8 miles a gallon, then it's down to just 344 gallons a week. But as you can see, you're going through a lot of fuel in a week, so these things are very important. Almost every company that you'll lease to will have some type of a fuel discount. Now, typically the way it works with every company I've ever been associated with or worked with, at the pump you won't see a difference. When they give you a receipt, you won't see a difference. It'll say whatever the pump price is, but when you get your settlement, it'll be less. Sometimes $20 less, sometimes $50 less. I've had a few that was over $100 less. But typically, you don't know exactly what you paid until you get your settlement. So you can see, even at 344 to 458 gallons a week, somewhere in the middle, it'd be about 400 gallons a week. Saving 20 or 30 cents a gallon could be a substantial amount of money. Now, what happens? These trucking companies will contact these big chains especially, and they'll say, hey, I have a 1,000 truck fleet. I have a 2,000 truck fleet. We would like to set our trucks up to fuel exclusively with you, or a whole lot with you. We think we'll do 10,000 gallons a month, 15,000 gallons a month. What kind of discount can you give us? Truck stop will say, we can give you 30 cents a gallon off if you'll buy that many gallons. We'll review it in 6 months. If you're doing more than that, we might can do better. If you're doing less than that, we may have to adjust it down. And so the company will say, all right, we'll take that. Now, of that 30-cent discount, most companies, and you never really know, but most of them will take a portion of that and pocket it for administrative cost. So they might get a 30-cent discount at that truck stop, but they might only pass 20 cents of it on to the driver. I have mixed emotions about that. Part of me says the driver's paying for the fuel, he should get all the discount. Part of me says, hey, the trucking company has some administrative cost. They have a little bit of risk, and so I can certainly understand them taking a small portion of it. But either way, that's how that works. As you guys know, with the previous company I worked with, I had my own fuel card, and at that company, and I used it briefly here at Dart also, it was kind of hit or miss. Sometimes I'd get a greater discount on my own fuel card. Sometimes I'd get a greater discount with the previous company I worked with. And so it just was kind of hit or miss. And I would say the same to you guys. Sometimes you might get a greater discount going out and getting your own fuel card, and a lot of times, just for convenience and easiness, it's easier to just run everything through the company. I ended up letting my fuel card, or closing the account, because accounting, it was a nightmare. I was sending that stuff to ATBS, and they just weren't used to drivers having 2 fuel cards, and it was really confusing for them. And so I went to one to simplify things. As you guys know, I've had some concerns, let's call it, with ATBS doing my taxes, and I am looking at other alternatives. I'm going to finish the year with ATBS, and then I've been told OIDA has a deal, and I may look at theirs and some others. I've had a lot of great suggestions from you guys, and I'm going to look into those at the end of this year. All right, now let's talk about fuel surcharges. You know, when I started preparing for this video, I thought this is going to be really easy to explain. And then as I started going through it, I thought, you know, I could explain this to somebody if we were sitting at a table, and I could answer their questions directly, and, you know, maybe draw a picture, things like that. But in a video, it's going to be really hard to be detailed. So in this video, I'm not going to get super detailed, but I'm going to explain it to you kind of as a general overview, a 30,000 foot view. The fuel surcharge was actually started the year after I was born. That's right, it's almost as old as me. In 1973, the fuel surcharge was started. I know most of you are too young to remember this. I'm too young to remember this real well. But they had an oil embargo, fuel prices shot up, and the fuel surcharge was created at that point. You might remember cars, the horsepower dropped way down. They started putting EGR and emission stuff on cars, and cars that had over 300 horsepower went down to 120, 130 horsepower. Cars got smaller, a lot more 4 cylinders and 6 cylinders went into cars. It was really a tough time for the motor vehicle industry. Well, it was also a tough time for trucking, because companies had negotiated rates for the year, and or sometimes multiple years. And when fuel prices doubled all of a sudden, or even more in some cases, truck drivers weren't prepared for that because they had set on a rate with the expectation of fuel being a certain rate. And so basically they had to come up with a way to offset the high fuel prices. Now, fuel surcharges didn't become a huge deal until the 90s. That's when I really remember it well. And I remember a lot of companies were reluctant to charge fuel surcharges because they felt like they might lose their contracts. The shippers might go to companies that didn't charge a fuel surcharge. But they ended up having to charge a fuel surcharge just to stay in the market. And so what I want to do today, and a lot of people calculate these differently. There's a lot of terms, and like I said, I could make this video real confusing, and it may be real confusing if I'm not real careful. But basically what you need to know is they take the national average of fuel each week, and then there's a base price, and they subtract them, and then from that there's a formula, and they come up with a number, and that's what the fuel surcharge is. It's usually based on 5.5 to 6 miles a gallon. So if you're doing better than that, and I'm going to explain it in a minute, you can actually profit off the fuel surcharge, and as diesel prices get higher, you can actually profit on that, depending on how your company figures it. I remember I had a lot of people, when fuel shot up, they're like, "Oh, Todd, I bet you're suffering." No, I'm actually doing better. The higher fuel goes, actually the better I do. In some ways, financially, yes, but also the cost of goods rises. You might notice lately that with fuel prices going up, I'm not going to get political here, but stuff on Amazon that used to have free shipping's now $10, $15 to get it shipped to you. And that's just because their shipping costs have gone up. Let me give you some examples. Like I said, I don't want to get too deep into this because I realize there's a chance to confuse people. But this week, the information I got said the national fuel average was $3.20 and 0.8 cents per gallon. Okay, we just talked about company fuel discounts, and this one I figured it at 20 cents a gallon. So I'm doing it at $3 a gallon, and I'm saying your truck averages 6 miles a gallon. Okay, 30-cent fuel surcharge at 6 miles a gallon is $1.80 a gallon. So if you subtract that from the $3 that you're actually paying after your fuel discount, $3 minus $1.80, it leaves $1.20 net per gallon that you're paying once your fuel surcharge does its part. Now, this is why fuel economy is so important. Let me show you. You go on down, we're doing the same $3 a gallon, same fuel surcharge, 30 cents, but now we're getting 7 miles a gallon. Now your fuel surcharge is roughly $2.10 a gallon. You subtract that from the same $3 a gallon, now your net fuel cost after the fuel surcharge is 90 cents a gallon. And you know, I told you before they figured it between 5.5 and 6 miles a gallon. Most of you watching this video are getting over 7 miles a gallon now. But let's say you're like me now. Let's get down here to the bottom, and let's say that you're getting 8 miles a gallon. 30 cents times 8 miles a gallon is $2.40 a gallon. You subtract the $2.40 from the $3, and your net fuel cost is 60 cents a gallon. So you can see that fuel economy has a big impact on how effective your fuel surcharge is. And then as the fuel surcharge goes, or I mean, as the average price of fuel goes up, that fuel surcharge increases. I've seen it as high as 50 cents. And so there's a real opportunity there for you to be profitable off of your fuel surcharge. Now, fuel surcharge, typically it will show on your settlements as revenue up towards the top of your settlement. And it's usually, you know, so many cents a mile. And so that's why the fuel economy is so important. But I hope I didn't confuse people. I hope this explains it a little better. I've had some questions that, because everything's in cents per mile and stuff like that, that a lot of guys, and they're not dart drivers all per se, there are other companies too, it's just a confusing thing for especially new guys that are maybe leasing their first truck in the industry. And I hope I cleared it up a little bit. If I need to go in depth more, I can make another video and try to answer specific questions. But you guys shoot me an email, tell me what you think, or leave a comment below. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Have a great day. I'm on my way to California and then Virginia. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.